Yo, and welcome back to the Banter Boys podcast. My name is Sanji, with me is Andrew. How you doing, boy?
Welcome. I had to say it.
You had to, yeah, I love it. How's it going, buddy?
It's good, my man. How are you?
Not too bad. I haven't seen you in a while. I know we're actively chatting in the Discord back and forth. Can't keep up with the traffic in there, but
tell me about it, man. It's crazy. It's hectic. It's fun, but join the Discord, guys. Join the Discord.
Love that plug. Yeah, it's honestly it's gotten to a point where it's so busy now. It's a bit of a chore to kind of keep up with it. But because of the level of bans and the insights that are shared, I think honestly it's worth catching up. I don't even need to go to Twitter anymore. Like, I think I get all my information, all my feedback from the Discord. And I mean, Twitter is kind of dying off right now as well. There's not much engagement I find over there. So listen, if you're looking for a new place to hang out, come join the Banter Boys Discord.
Yeah, quite right. Brilliant. Great plug.
How's your summer going?
Not too bad. We're not going away anywhere this year. We've no plans. Our daughter actually went away on holiday to Barcelona and came back engaged. So
okay, congratulations.
Thanks. I think so. He's a Hearts fan, so it makes it a bit awkward.
Yeah. I mean, family get-togethers are never going to be dull now, right? So
no, of course. But yeah, it's been quite good. Obviously, the Euros was all that anticipation, and like as usual, you buy into it and you build yourself up, and then we were absolutely rotten through the entire tournament.
And for those who aren't able to tell by your accent, like...
Well, of course, yeah. Sorry. being Scottish is tough. Yeah, I mean, our national team don't deserve the fans that go over there, because the fans were just making all the headlines for all the good reasons, which was great. But the football was just... I think we've been found out ever since we've been living off of Rodri's tears since we beat Spain.
When you guys battered their paellas.
Battered them, mate. You know what I mean? Played disgusting football apparently and still beat them. But yeah, ever since then we've just we've never really done anything much. We're just a bit predictable. So it's not good. But Steve Clarke is still in a job, unlike his counterpart down south, who quite rightly probably stepped down.
Stayed a bit too late in his job, I want to say. Southgate.
A victim of his own success, I think, but he was never really good enough to manage that team, and how they didn't win the Euros with that team is just nonsense. It's mind-boggling. I did not enjoy that, by the way. I didn't enjoy it. I was Spanish for a weekend. It was great.
All right, listeners, welcome back to another Inside Trax episode. I mean, we've got to do a fan introduction, so I'll let you do that first, Andrew, before I give the listeners the breakdown of how these episodes go.
Okay, cool. Well, my name's Andrew, as you heard. You'll probably know me as Draftash, or Draft Ache, as I think some people seem to read it on Twitter and on Discord. But yeah, it's definitely Draftash. My teams are usually called Willie Miller's Tash, which goes into the team that I kind of like support since I was younger, which was Aberdeen, obviously. And then I remember in 1986, some team that I'd never heard about before came and stole our manager. So I kind of just followed them and looked up on them, looked up in the history, found a lot of Scottish guys, a lot of good connections. And then, of course, this manager went on to ruin all your childhoods, and you're all still bitter about it now. So I am, of course, here to rep Manchester United.
Yes. It's always a fun chat, speaking with a Manchester United fan. But I'm definitely looking forward to digging into the Red Devils and seeing how they fare in the upcoming campaign. All right, listeners, we're here to chat everything Manchester United. Quick breakdown for how these episodes go. We've got 3 segments. First segment is a bit of a general discussion. We talk about impact of any managerial changes, coaching changes, something that would have changed in the club. Then we look back at previous season's performance, new season's expectations, old system versus new system. So we're going to look at transfers as far back as last summer. And then we'll kind of dig into what we think the expected formation and starting 11 will be for the upcoming 24-25 campaign. And then obviously we're going to chat some fan tracks. We're going to get Andrew's first pick from United, which is pretty obvious, but still, we got to ask him. His next 3 picks, which rounds he's going to take them in, at least 1 hidden gem and at least 1 trap asset. And then obviously we're going to have our final segment, which is the advice segment, where we're going to pick Andrew's brain as an experienced Fantrax manager in our community. We're going to chat a bit about, how he does trading picks or waiver claims, or how he spends his fab, and, some of his best and worst moments from last season. All right, let's get started. So, United, a bit quick summary of your performance from last season. You got knocked out the EFL Cup in the 4th round by Newcastle United, who was your final opponents from the previous season. It was your worst ever performance in the Champions League group stage, finishing last place in your group with only 4 points. In the Premier League, you finished 8th with a negative goal difference, and I see you just rubbing your face, Andrew. Listeners can't see it, but don't worry, we're going to end on a high note. But yeah, you finished 8th with a negative goal difference. It was your worst placed finish since 1989-1990, and it was the first time since that year that you've conceded more goals than you've scored. However, your success came at the end of the season in the FA Cup, where you beat your noisy neighbours, Manchester City, 2-1 with goals from Garnacho and Kobe Mainu. And I must say that Kobe Mainu has to be my favourite goal from you guys last season. Especially it was the Bruno assist, let's be real. And then a fun fact that I came across was apparently this was the first season since 2010-2011 without players like De Gea or Phil Jones. And it was basically like the last time that you had a Premier League winner, I think, in the squad as well. So yeah, I'll let you take it away, Andrew. Talk to us about your Red Devils.
I never expected to come on and be made to feel so depressed. But, wow, man.
You won a trophy. It was more than like half the clubs did,
I did. I mean, in fairness, I did have that kind of like written down somewhere about a sunny day in May, just bringing it all together, and everything else was forgotten. But yeah, we were horrendous in every way, shape, or form last season. Just nothing went right for us. It was just it was awful. It was just awful. You counted off all the highlights, shall we say? The lack of goals, the conceding like the third most shots, you said?
Yeah, something like that. You guys were basically conceding way too many shots for where you were. It might have been most at one point, actually.
Oh, probably a good chance. Me. Yeah, a good chance. I reckon Burnley and Sheffield United probably did their bit to help the cause. But yeah, no, it just everything went wrong last year, man. And it was. I mean, we can point the finger at injuries, and we will kind of do that. I think the difference in our defence when we had Varane and Martinez, which was incidentally just for the FA Cup final, just shows you what we were kind of missing, just that solidness at the back. And it was everything was awful. Everything. I hate even thinking about it, but I knew we were going to talk about it, but just thinking about it, and then sitting and just obviously everyone else just enjoying it. You know what I mean? And I totally get that, because I would be the same. If I wasn't a Man United fan, I would just be like absolutely loving it. So, but yeah, and it's that whole thing of, if you kind of knew what it was going to be like 12 years ago when it all started falling apart, that I probably would have been a bigger prick when I was like, when we were winning all the time, you know what I mean? Just be like, get up. But yeah, oh well. These things happen. So yeah, so yeah, not the best of seasons at all. But yeah, like you said, Phil, I think the FA Cup really did put a good shine on the end of it. And I think the performance, more than anything, I totally understand that, people make excuses for Man City, but I think we just kind of set ourselves up properly to play against them. And even Rashford had a good game, but like that second goal was just, it was beautiful, and like Bruno's pass, just the no-look assist, just absolute perfection. So, and we were kind of clinging on at the end, especially after they scored. But yeah, no, it was good. It was nice to finish off, and like you said, it's 2 trophies in 2 seasons for Ten Hag, so it's probably the reason why he's still there, in all fairness. So. Yeah. I mean, speaking of manager, there, like you said, that's probably why he's there, because there was a lot of chatter about pre-FA Cup result. Oh, he's going to definitely lose his job. He's going to get fired, this and that. I mean, there was so much anarchy, him and Sancho falling out, all this drama, him telling Rashford, listen, you're not going to behave, you're not in my team. Like, I respected this disciplinary route, like 100%, because that's what Arteta did with Aubameyang. You need to set the tone from the get-go. Otherwise, you'll have players fighting over penalties mid-game like Chelsea does, right? But in terms of, Erik Ten Hag's
Eric Ten Hag staying, has anything else changed within the club? Because I know money and ownership was a big issue, right?
And I mean, and it still kind of is, you know. I mean, the Glazers are still there, no matter who it kind of looks like is pulling the strings now, and you know that's good. You know, I mean, I think we were obviously struggling. We were desperate, and we were needing someone to come in. Radcliffe might not be, he's not the hero that we wanted at the time, but he seems to be doing okay. A few decisions kind of behind the scenes might not be going down so well. You know, a lot of people have been made redundant. He seems to have just completely forgot about the women's kind of team as well. So a lot of people aren't 100% happy with him. But I think when he introduced the kind of like backroom kind of staff to work on the football side, it's made a change, especially with the kind of early signings that we've made. We seem to be actually doing good business for a change, whereas before we just used to literally walk up and bend over and, you know, I mean, it was, you know, just take all our money. It's perfectly fine, you know. But we seem to be a bit more structure, you know. So we've got Barada, who we politely took from our neighbours. Just to, you know, someone was obviously aware of these 115 charges coming in, and he jumped ship. We have Wilcox as well, former Blackburn player, who's now the technical director. Dan Ashworth, which, you know, I think everyone knows about his gardening skills for a start.
Yeah.
So he's our sporting director. And like I said, we've done good deals over the summer so far. I think there's a frustration that we've not quite done enough, but I think we have to face facts that we have to get people out of the club. We have to get people off the wages. You know, we have to be doing what Chelsea are doing and selling people like McTominay, because, you know, that's a full profit because he's a youth team player. You know, we've got I think the couple of the young, is he Moroccan, Hannibal. He was he was out of Sevilla, so he failed to get a move as well. But you know, we need to be doing stuff like that to make the profit, so we can spend some money. You know what I mean? So we can do the good work. But you know, I've seen a couple of things coming through tonight that it has made me a bit happier.
Yeah.
So we'll wait and see. I'll bring it up as we go further along.
So I mean, I want to bring it up before other people do. But what's going on with the stadium, man? Like, we saw a lot of clips and images of, you know, the rain falling, and it looks like somebody basically opened a tap over Old Trafford, and there was like a poor drainage system. So surely some of the money goes towards refurbishing the stadium, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's been loads of different. I think at one point they were talking about building a completely new stadium.
Oh wow!
Or I think that's what they were advised. They got an independent board in to have a look and make assessments for them, and they came back and said that you'd be better off building a new stadium.
Wow.
But I think Radcliffe and his group in EOS have decided that, you know, we're better off sticking where we are, and we'll do it up. So, you know, we'll wait and kind of see how that works. But you know, I think the waterfall will still be there next year, which goes quite well because it's one of the songs that gets played by Stone Roses. So,
nice.
So it works well in that. And then obviously, you know, Dortmund were in the same boat as well, so they had they had problems as well. So
true. Wait to look on the positive side of things, man.
Of course. And then obviously on the footballing side as well, we just brought in a couple of new coaches, and one that really stands out is obviously Ruud van Nistelrooy. And he seems to be. I think he's pretty much like assistant coach. And I think, you know, when he came to the UK, a lot of people were thinking he was taking over Burnley, but then he came up to us and signed up with us, so that'll be quite interesting. Especially, obviously, he did a pretty decent job. I think it was PSV he was at. You know, he was definitely in the Champions League. I remember that. So, so he must have. You know, he knows what he's doing. He's not just there to help the strikers. I think he said that himself as well. So he's got good defensive coaching abilities as well. So, but we'll see. You know, I mean, it's one of those stages, especially with, I think, just with the Euros and Copa America, you just really don't know what's going to happen. Even like the team on Sunday or the squad on Sunday, you're kind of like thinking, how are we going to play this? You know what I mean? So there's just a few players missing, and some players like literally just back in this week. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's gonna be an absolute minefield for Fantrax managers in that first couple of game weeks, because a lot of highly drafted players are not going to be available, not going to be starting. So you need to have some benches, right? Some options. Yeah. But I mean, we're going to touch on that in the second segment. Maybe there's some assets that, you know, managers have kind of overlooked. But before we get to that, I do want to kind of touch on some of the ins and outs at Manchester United. So let's look back as far as last summer. So in terms of outs, I mean, Phil Jones was released. In terms of big names that left, I think the first one we can probably touch on is within the Premier League, Anthony Langer going to Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, that's fair play to that guy. He went away to Forest and he played quite well. You'll have a few United fans who'll say that he didn't really get a chance at United that much. I always thought he was definitely not the finished product anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe a loan deal might have been something that would have been better off doing. But again, it's that way of, you sell off these young players and you make more profit out of it. He's done a lot better for himself. Would he? Yeah. He probably could have got a game for us last season, but right wing wasn't exactly a problem kind of position for us. You know what I mean? So
wasn't it though?
Well, I mean, you can talk about the players, but it's not like we didn't have any. You know what I mean?
I get your point.
If he was a left back, then fair enough. You know, a left back or a centre half or a defensive midfielder, then you'd be screaming at them. But
definitely,
So I guess it was one of those, and then obviously he was sold before the whole Sancho thing as well. So you know, I mean, he was up against a lot of competition. I'm glad that he's done really well for himself as well. So, because that's what you want to kind of see. A lot of hype from him, obviously, in part of the Swedish team as well. It's such a youngster. So, good luck to him.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Another name. And I guess it's kind of interesting now, given the bit of uncertainty about what's going on in your left back spot. Was Alex Telles going to Al Nassr? I mean, half the players are getting pushed by Saudi League right now. But do you think that was a bit of a loss for the United squad?
I think the only loss of it was really the fact that we didn't get any of the big money that was coming in for the players going to the Saudi League. You know, when you've seen some of the offers that you guys were getting for like Koulibaly and stuff like that, you know? So he was, I guess he was a kind of favourite of mine when he played there. He just always looked quite exciting. He wasn't the best of defenders. He helped bring Luke Shaw into his own. And obviously he probably would have been good cover, but again, last season it was one of those that not only does your backup left back go down, but then your proper left back goes down, and then it's just turmoil, and you're trying to, I think, we had so many different players playing that position last season. So, we could have probably done with them. But again, it was wages off. We could get someone in as well. So I don't think he's a big loss, So he scored a cracker of a goal in one game in the Champions League, and that was about it. So
yeah, for sure. Next name, Fred going off to Fenerbahce. Do you miss Fred?
Yeah, I think having Fred last season would have helped an awful lot. Again, I think he was allowed to go because it was benefiting us getting players that were coming in.
Yeah.
But yeah, we could have totally done with him. Again, one of those kind of hard to like player, but some days he just does something utter magic.
Yeah.
And then the next day he's just like giving the ball away, just clean through sort of thing.
Very Jekyll and Hyde in terms of his moments.
Completely. Yeah. But one of those guys that just he absolutely loved playing for Manchester United, and you can't beat having a player like that in your team. No matter how bad he can be sometimes. But we would have loved having Fred last season, but I think he was sold for a reason, and that reason just didn't pan out as well. So again, all of that old backroom kind of people that were doing all the transfers and things like that, just not doing the right things. So.
Yeah. All right. Couple of other names to mention. Eric Bay or Bailly, I'll talk about going to Besiktas. I don't know. I felt like he had potential, but again, it was injuries that didn't help his cause. But I don't know. Was that the only thing that really stopped him from playing more at Manchester United?
Yeah, I think injuries were a huge factor for him. But at the same time as well, he was a bit of a calamity. I mean, we did like to have that type of defender. I mean, he was just another Phil Jones, but probably slightly younger and made it
maybe
look
more athletic as well.
Yeah, slightly. Yeah. But I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of the things he would do sometimes, some of his clearances, he would be doing like bicycle kicks in the middle of the pitch, and just really crazy stuff. And then he's one of those defenders that's on the ground trying to head the ball away, kind of thing. So gave everything every time he played, but. Yeah, no, it's. I think his injuries definitely, but he was very reckless. I can't see him fitting in like a Ten Hag system.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Final name, Teden Menji went to Luton Town. I thought he did quite well for them. Is there a reason why you guys didn't keep him on?
Again, I think it's just a player demanding first team football, wants to play more. A position that we had plenty in stock, and it just wasn't enough. And again, you'll find these devoted Man United fans that demand these youngsters play week in, week out, and you've just got to. I mean, he was good. He looked good in the Luton team, but it's not. I mean, not that we did anything great last season, but I really don't see what he would have brought to us that season to make us any better than we were. So.
Fair enough. All right. So looking at some ins, one of your loan deals, Sofian Amrabat. I think there was a lot of hype around him given how the World Cup went, etc. But I don't know if he was misused or put into a system that was just too much for him. I don't know. What do you think went wrong?
I think a bit of both. I think if we had brought him in to play alongside Casemiro a lot more, then things might have been better. But the guy was very much a utility player. He played left back one game as well. So never ideal. He never really kind of reached those levels every game. I mean, don't get me wrong, he had a good couple of games, especially near the end of the season where he started coming into his own. I think there was a few discussions about paying on. Like we had the option to buy. There was a few discussions about it, but it's one of those that we could probably get a little bit more for our money. If he had played like he did at the World Cup for Morocco when he was there, then you know what I mean. Certainly, there you go. There's your 20 million. But yeah, I just think in this day and age, and with everything that's going on with FFP and all the other stuff, you've got to be a little bit more careful with who you're buying now as well.
Yeah. Sergio Reguilon only there for half a season on loan. I mean, he went to Brentford, if I'm not mistaken, in that winter window. Absolutely smashed it for them. Why didn't it work out for him in United, do you think?
Again, a silly backroom decision to let him go, to be honest. We could have just kept him for another 6 months. Or whatever, it's like 4.5 months, 5 months. Yeah. But it would have made him an absolutely useless Fantrax asset, unfortunately, and he was absolutely flying in the second half. So, so on that level, but yeah, I mean, it was just a silly decision. They kind of thought that there was a rumor that Malacia was coming back, and then Shaw obviously was rushed back, and then he got injured again, like the very first game. So again, just another silly decision that just wasn't used in good sense. So yeah, fair.
Altay Bayındır, is he the backup goalkeeper that came in from Fenerbahce?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the Turkish guy. I think he managed to he got one game in the World Cup. I think he got like the second group game. Again, I felt quite sorry for him. The big hoo-ha with Onana going to AFCON and then only actually missing one game, and it was delayed and all this kind of stuff. And then the guy played one game, we won, he kept a clean sheet. Just give him a little run, give him like 2 or 3 games. So I understand it from maybe a coach's point of view, from wanting to keep Onana with a back four. He was basically like the only constant in that back four apart from that one game anyway. So so I can understand it from that point of view. But you've got a young keeper that's came here knowing that he's going to sit on the bench, but any opportunity you can give him to get a chance, even in the cup games, we just didn't. We just played Onana every game. So yeah, it just seemed to be a bit of a waste. Young talent. I would imagine if a Turkish team especially is looking at him, they'll probably come in for a bid for him. We've still got Tom Heaton, obviously. Everyone loves Tom Heaton. But then, we would probably be on the lookout for another goalkeeper. But as it stands, he's still there just now. And you get all the Man United videos on Instagram and Twitter and all that. So you see the odd one, and he's in it, and he's always happy and smiling. So maybe he's just living life, being highly paid to be a backup. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, Scott Carson definitely is. I'll tell you that much.
Well, there you go. So there's nothing wrong with it, clearly.
I mean, since we're on the topic of goalkeepers, Andre Onana. pretty much a target of massive criticism, not just for the mistakes that he does, but the moments that he has in games. Every now and then you might see a Cruyff turn or a little bit of fancy footwork. Great shot stopper, but yeah, he definitely had his downs as much as he had his ups. But are you still confident in him, retaining that position for the rest of the season? Or the upcoming season, sorry.
Yeah, I like him. I think he's a great goalkeeper. I think every great goalkeeper makes mistakes. It's kind of what they do. Ederson makes mistakes. Alisson's made mistakes.
Yeah.
It's how they kind of recover from it. He's made the odd one. I can't really remember him giving away that many goals though. From his mistakes, he has backed it up. And like you said, he's a good shot stopper, and he's good with his feet as well. At the start of the season, he was pinging some 40-yard passes quite a lot, and I love that from goalkeepers that have just got that vision. And especially when you've got a team like ours that are all built to attack and run at the front three, then that's what we needed to do a lot more of. So. Yeah. None of this playing out from the back. See that Pep guy and that nonsense? Come on. We're not good at it. Stop doing it.
A player that you guys brought in as a free agent, basically a stalwart of the club, I want to say, Johnny Evans. However, unfortunately being relied upon at the moment, given some of your new faces that we'll talk about shortly, got injured during some of the preseason games. Is Johnny really going to be in that squad game week 1?
I don't know about game week 1.
Yeah,
he'll probably play on tomorrow.
Okay.
So on the Community Shield, he'll probably play in that. I would think that, maybe even Maguire. I think she would probably partner Martinez in the first game week, but obviously more of that later. But yeah, Johnny Evans. One of those guys that I think it's quite good to get him to come in just to cover up. I think he didn't expect to play the amount of games he did last season.
Yeah.
We certainly didn't expect him to play the amount of games that he played last season.
He was a decent Fantrax asset at times.
He did okay. I mean, there was the game against Burnley when he 30-yard pass right onto Bruno's foot and into the back of the net. Just
with a clean sheet to go. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I bet you no one picked him though. But I mean, he's one of those that. I hate listening to Gary Neville and all that. He's like, he knows the club, the history of the club. I mean, he's getting paid, so he's happy. But he's been at the club before, and he's played for Man United before, and he understands all that kind of stuff. And someone that he's a good defender. He's just not got the legs anymore. So what I mean? And I think you could see that in other games. So, but yeah, he signed up again for another season. So expect him to pop up in some match day squads this season, definitely.
Whole video and his dad saying welcome home, he got injured, whatever, but obviously you don't want to wish anything negative on anyone ever, especially a football player not being able to do what they love. But he definitely did not have the easiest time at Manchester United in his first season.
No, it was horrendous. Just injury, obviously the injury, and again, I'm not gonna use that as an excuse, but
it's a valid excuse. Like
it is for him. You cannot. You just wonder why. Though I mean, he's a young guy, and it just seemed to be whether it be our medical team, whatever it was, but just nothing seemed to go right.
Yeah.
He's had an okay preseason. It was not exactly been brilliant, but he's played okay. But he wants to play in the role that Bruno plays, and that's always going to be his problem. I actually thought that we would have been better off playing him on right wing because that's where Tuchel played him at Chelsea, and he was a decent player then. So yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say. I think hopefully he can do something. You and the Chelsea fan Trax guy were loving it. I heard you laugh and enjoying it. But
a little bit
right as well.
While we were getting pumped by Real Madrid, of course.
Yeah,
so,
totally.
I mean, karma works both ways.
But yeah, maybe it is about karma. You never know. He's one of those guys. I said it last year that Ten Hag just absolutely loves him, and Ten Hag thinks he's perfect for his system. But you're just wondering where in that system. I mean, sometimes you wonder if we even have a system. It's just, it's crazy. It's just
preaching to the choir, mate. Like.
Yeah, no, totally. I feel your pain too. Just give the ball to Bruno and he'll do something. That's what they're pretty much like sometimes. So.
Yeah, definitely. All right, final name from last summer, Rasmus Højlund. Unfortunately picked up a hamstring injury during preseason. From what I gather, he's going to be out until maybe game week 5 after the international break.
Yeah.
But after a bit of a slow start to his career at United, he was always in the right positions, maybe kind of fluffing his lines a bit. But then I think there was that one game where he had this scruffy finish. It came off his thigh or whatever. For him to get his first senior goal for United, it was a 3-2 win. And then after that, he kind of fell into a bit of a purple patch form. But yeah, can you kind of touch on Rasmus and what did you think of his debut season?
I think it's he's young, and I think it's Nicholas Jackson again, isn't it, mate?
Yeah.
So, but I mean, in fairness to your guy, he was a lot better. I think Højlund obviously started last season with an injury as well, which isn't really making me that excited for him this year, unfortunately. Yeah. And he is a young guy. He didn't have the best Euros at all, and it's not like he didn't get chances. He was started every single game. He just never really seemed to do much. Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, he had that good purple patch, and when he was scoring, definitely a confidence player, because when he's scoring, everything's going well, and obviously he picked up that other injury that rocked him a little bit, but even when he came back, he never really kind of seemed to do it. You're hoping that Van Nistelrooy obviously can be a big influence over him. And obviously there's our other new signing as well. I won't say it. But yeah, so just, you're just hoping for something good. But again, we're putting a lot of pressure on a 20-year-old, 21-year-old. Just to be that main guy, which might be the reason for when I talk about formations later that we start doing something different. So.
Yeah, definitely. I think the only thing to kind of note from the winter window was Sancho going on loan to Dortmund. Made it all the way to the Champions League final. Unfortunately, did not win. But now back in the squad, playing preseason. Has Erik ten Hag finally forgiven him? Or did Sancho apologize? I don't know. Which came first?
I think they chatted. That's all that's been said. There's not been anything like Sancho didn't send him a wee card and say I'm sorry. But they've definitely chatted. I think they've obviously ironed things out. As far as I'm aware, Sancho is on his way out. So I think it's just kind of showing face from both just now. If he doesn't leave, then he'll probably be a squad player. Again, he's done quite well pre-season, and Ten Hag sang his praises, said, he can play anywhere in the front three. He obviously played as a kind of false 9 a few times, or maybe more of a 10. The last season, not the end of the season just finished, but the season before, just when he kind of came back from injury. But obviously he went to Dortmund, he played really well. Not in every game, just in the Champions League games, surprisingly. A couple of good games in the German league, but I think just because he got to the Champions League final, people were making more out of it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know where I stand on it. Part of me was just like last season, just get rid of him. I mean, he's not said sorry. There's so many pictures and videos of him at training where he just looks like he just does not care. He's not putting in 100%. When you see other players like really going for it, and he's just taking everything. But again, it could be context. It's just the way videos can be edited. Nobody really knows. But Ten Hag's not the first manager to criticize his. His commitment to something. So I think he does like playing Fortnite apparently. So just another one of those guys. So But yeah, so who knows? I think the best thing for everyone would be him leaving, and then we'd get some money from him. But if he stays, then yeah, as long as he's committed to play and actually put in a shift when he comes on, then I think United fans will probably forgive him in the end if that happens. But if he goes, then yeah, that'll just be that.
Fair
See
enough.
you later. Yeah.
So looking at our current summer window, I'm gonna call off a few names that were either transferred out or released, and if you wanna maybe quickly touch on them, you're more than welcome to. Rafael Varane, Anthony Martial, Brandon Williams, and Willy Kambwala. Let's see, because the other names are kids, youth players. I want to say like Shola and Omari as well. But any of those senior players, you think you're gonna miss, or you kind of wish they had, maybe had a second chance under Erik ten Hag?
I think probably only Willy Kambwala, really.
Yeah.
Again, he came to us a lot younger. He had a lot of injuries when he was in the under-21 team. Was captain of the under-21 team for a while as well. Made his step up into the senior team last season when things weren't going well. Was kind of thrown in at the deep end. I think it was the West Ham game where they absolutely tore us to shreds. Kudus when Kudus did the infamous sitting on the board, the advertising boards at the back. So he didn't have the best of games, but he did have a good few near the end of the season where he was just quite calm and a lot more collected. So I was quite surprised that one went through. Yeah. Whether it's the whole PSR thing again, I'm not really sure. But I do think we've got an opportunity to buy him back if things like at a decent price. So I think we get first refusal or whatever it's called, or even like there's another player as well that I'm sure has got a 50% sell on clause as well. So Yeah, I would say that was the one that surprised me. Obviously, you'd love to have Varane, but I would have loved to have Varane 10 years ago, not now. You know what I mean? So it's a shame because when you need him to step up, he stepped up. Yeah. Because that's what a player like him does. You don't win all those trophies, all those Champions Leagues by being rubbish.
World Cups as well,
World Cups and Euros, God. So obviously he's going to be a huge miss, but he was never gonna play another season with us, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is. All right, let's talk about the ins. There's only two names to really talk about. We'll start with Lenny Euro. So Lenny looks like a bit of a Rolls Royce player, I want to say. Very, very young as well. Looks very calm on the ball. Is able to handle pressure, like physical pressure of a player that's challenging him. But yeah, again, story of United's season last season was injuries. He picked up another muscle injury. I think he had surgery from what I saw somewhere, but he's already started his rehab. It is a massive hit, right? Because I would have assumed that him and Maguire would have been the starting centre-back pairing. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it would have been him and Martinez.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think because they're both left-footed. I understand that, but yeah, definitely. There's no way Martinez isn't our starting centre half. You know what I mean? It's just it would be ridiculous not to. Yeah. He just commands that box. I don't actually mind Maguire. I think Maguire did really well last season. I think he deserves to stay and just, we may as well. We're not going to get the money that we thought for him. And if he's solid enough to go in. But yeah, losing Euro at this stage of the season is just not great. He was pretty solid in the couple of the half a game against Rangers and then the like 20 minutes against Arsenal. He was he looked good. So it's a blow, and I think John Aston Villa he's mentioned him before about watching him when he played for Lille.
Right. Yeah.
There you go. And because he played against Aston Villa last season in the conference and stuff, right. and he did a good job against Watkins, so that gives us something to kind of look forward to. So yeah, but again, we're gonna have to wait 3 months. So you're kind of talking, hopefully, all back in time for the festive period, kind of kicking off because that's a lot of games. So.
Definitely, yeah, and you need the legs, you need the rotation then. So yeah, let's hope he kind of makes it back sooner than expected. The next big name I think is kind of on the tips of most managers' tongues is Joshua Zirkzee.
Yeah. Again, a player that never really got much of a chance at the Euros. He was the opposite to Hoyland, whereas Hoyland got loads of chances and didn't really do much then.
Yeah.
So, pardon me, Xerxes got like a couple of sub appearances and didn't really have much time to do anything in them. I've read quite a lot about him, and I know a lot of people are kind of saying that he's not gonna, he's not gonna bring in tons of points from a Trax perspective. He didn't get that many goals when he was in Serie A, but he was Bologna's top goal scorer. Okay. I actually watched quite a few of their games, and I kept in touch with Bologna just because they signed Lewis Ferguson from Aberdeen. So I was always quite interested in seeing how he was getting on. And then obviously they had such an amazing season last season. So their team's obviously being decimated by everyone just now, but. So I see him. I was reading a few comments just on like the Bologna Twitter page as well, and Thiago Motta, who was the manager for them last season, was full of praise for him. Said that he reminded him so much of Ronaldinho, and obviously Thiago Motta used to play with Ronaldinho, so you kind of have a good idea. So, so just things like that. I don't think he's a 9. I think even Thiago Motta said he was more a 9.5. He's like a creative player. So I don't think he's been brought in to score the goals, which again is something that we were kind of screaming for. So again, he's probably not the player that we really need, but that's what makes me think that maybe there's a plan in place to just switch things up a little bit with the formation. Okay. And Ten Hag's already said that he can see Hoyland and Xerxes both playing at the same time. So whether that's one of them out on one of the wings or playing together with Xerxes maybe just behind him, who knows? But yeah, I think I'm excited by him because he's a really technically gifted footballer. He's gonna pick up a ton of dribbles. He's not quite Adama level, you know what I mean? But no one is. But he's very skillful on the ball. He learned to play football in the cages in Amsterdam, like the Johan Cruyff cages, where they're all skillful as anything. So yeah, I think he's got a few tricks up his sleeve. So how that's going to relate to Pantrax points, it's tough to say just now because again we've not really seen him in a United shirt and seen where they're going to play. I think if he's just playing as that kind of centre forward, we know how centre forwards get their points. They get their points from scoring goals or getting the odd assist, but ghosties isn't really something that they're good at. So, but I've got high hopes for him. I think I like him, and I think he's going to be fun to watch, and I think that's the main thing. So.
Yeah, exactly. All right, I think this is the perfect time to kind of transition into, can you maybe touch or remind listeners of the old system or the system that you guys utilized last season, and maybe talk about what your expected formation starting 11 and what the system can be like next season?
Okay, so yeah, I think everyone wants to play a 4-3-3, but we all know it's a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 when you've got the ball, however they want to kind of play it out. But that's pretty much what we played last season. Apart from when we threw it away against you guys and we decided to just go 2-4-4 and just and then lose the game rather than just dropping a couple of points. So last season was we've been through it. It wasn't the best. I mean, there's nothing to tell me that the system isn't going to change, and we're still going to play that 4-2-3-1. I'm kind of hoping that the things that he said about Xerxes and Hoyland playing together won't mean that one of them will be, because that's a lot of defending for a player that's not really a defending kind of asset. So that's what's making me think that there could be a slight change. I don't know if he'd go as far as maybe playing 3 at the back and going 3-5-2 of some description. Just because I don't think we could really play a 4-4-2 like we used to in the Sir Alex Ferguson days, because most midfields just now are playing 3 and we would just get overrun and all sorts of stuff. But so it's going to be one of those kind of wait and see how it all goes once they're all fit and running. But if I was to pick the team from everyone that's completely fit, or if everyone that's there just now, obviously Onana would be in goals. I would imagine Dallo will be right back. Like I said, ideally you're wanting Yoro and Martinez as your centre halves with Shaw on the left. Maguire's a pretty good replacement just now for Euro. I think as long as he understands that he's not the leader, it's just let Martinez lead you. He'll it'll be like when Jose Mourinho was controlling Luke Shaw from the sidelines with his PlayStation controller. Yeah. And so Shaw on the left, hopefully. Quite surprised that Casemiro's still there, I have to say. But, if he's there, he actually looks quite fit this pre-season. I think last year he came back looking like he had enjoying some refreshments, shall we say.
Yeah. I grabbed him in a couple of leagues because I saw he scored in the pre-season. He was wearing the captain's armband, so I figured he must be part of the setup.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of rumours going around about a big fallout with Ten Hag just before the cup final because he didn't even come on. So I think a lot of people were expecting whether the Saudi Arabian League are still going to come up for him. Who knows? I think there's going to be a lot of activity over these next 3 weeks. I think we're going to leave a hell of a lot to last minute, which is going to be really annoying.
Yeah.
But at the same time as well, he's there. And it's like Varane, if you've got a player like that, you're going to play him because you know what he can give you. You just let's not play him as centre half again. You know what I mean? So, and then I think if he's got the young star basically of last season, who might I add,
Tash, I've got to give you I've got to give you a quick shout out, man. Not to steal your thunder, but when you suggested him as the gem and I grabbed him in Dynasty, I'm pretty sure I currently own one of the best Dynasty players in my league at the moment because, steady Eddie, eye for goal, scored winning goal in the FA Cup. Yeah, I mean, I'll let you continue to praise him.
Well, exactly that. Everything that you said. I think the way that he came into the team and just... I mentioned at the start of last season when I seen him in pre-season how he was just quite composed. He was so happy to just go back and demand the ball from Onana and in turn and start playing it out. He was doing that a lot when he came into the team, even when we were absolutely at our worst at some points. He was like the shining light. But you didn't want to put everything on him, so I know that Ten Hag was taking him off after like 60, 70 minutes, and that's good. That's good management of your young players.
Yeah.
But then, his goal against Wolves. Just when we thought we had lost that game completely, and then him and Forson just linked up beautifully, and you saw that, and you were like, "Wow, this kid is good." And I think just as the seasons went on, he's found himself in front of goal a lot more. He's not scared to take a shot, which is obviously great. The winning goal for the FA Cup final. So praise be.
I mean, broke into the England setup as well, right? Even during the tournament. So it just speaks volumes of how good of a player he is, and he's so young. It's mental.
Just a very wise head on his shoulders. Doesn't seem to have that aggressiveness of Roy Keane, but he's got that. He seems to have that intelligence. He kind of knows where he has to be. Big things from him next season. I think he's really going to kind of step up and make that position his own, as long as we can get either Casemiro on form or we can get someone else into play as that defensive midfielder just next to him, and then just let him roam. Let him and Bruno just roam free.
Yeah. So I assume it's a given. Bruno sits in front of Mainu and Casemiro. My biggest headache is who is playing in front of them.
Well, and I think that's a problem. I think if we're going to talk about, say, even tomorrow's game, the Charity Shield tomorrow, there's a lot of players missing. So I'm going off of if I was to say that how we're going to play on like game week 1, then for instance, like I said, Onana, Dallo, Yoro, well not Yoro, Maguire, Butcher. I'd be worried about Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw is carrying another injury. Malacia is not going to be playing. And there's someone that I will point out to you later on that I think is ready, and a lot of Man United fans think is ready as well.
All right.
So obviously Casemiro and Manu with Bruno.
Yeah.
I guess just now I'm kind of leaning towards it being Garnacho on the left, Dallo on the right, and then Rashford in the middle just now.
Okay.
Just because that's the kind of they've played that, they know how to play it. I don't think Zerski will start his first game, but I do think he's going to grow into the season.
Okay.
Where's Zirkzee play? I don't know if he'll be that centre forward. I think he's more likely to be on one of the wings, maybe. But I'm looking for a lot of interchange between the front three. I think they can all play on either wing, especially those ones, and they can all make it. They're not shy of a shot. So that's what I'd kind of go for just now. But again, I do think something's going to change. I just got a feeling that we're gonna play something a little bit different once everyone's kind of fully fit and we've got a lot of the new players in, and like I said, there's rumours of us having 2 players tidied up over this weekend as well, so that'll be interesting as well. Hopefully Delit and Mazraoui.
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
And seemingly AWB is away to West Ham.
Okay, so. All right. Very interesting. So given all of this, what would be your expectation for next season?
Wow. See, the last 2 times we've done this, I've been quite optimistic. Again, that's that Scottishness in me. This season, I'm quite tepid. Don't get me wrong. I think the target has to be top 4 because you have to get Champions League.
Yeah.
Anything more than that, I mean, if I'm going to be brutally honest, top 4 is going to be a bonus. I think, like I said, the next 3 weeks is going to be big, and who we bring in, who we let go. But the league's really tough, man. It's not. There's no. Remember when it used to just be the top 4?
Just
the top 4 was the team, and now it's 6, and now you're looking. Actually, it's 8. Actually, you know what I mean? It's the top half of the league. So. I think we really need to just kind of build for the future. We need to do what we should have done 10, 11 years ago when Sir Alex stepped aside and we had to start all over again, not pretend that we were just continuing on, because it's just never really worked. And hopefully that's what Ineos and Ten Hag will bring. But then I would also not be surprised if Ten Hag got sacked by Christmas as well. So.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I'm a Ten Hag fan. I like Ten Hag. I think that I think he needed to have good people working behind the scenes to help him. Someone to go, no, you don't want to spend 80 million on Anthony. Don't be silly. But he's just never really had that. So hopefully, but yeah, I think I think his coat's still on a Shugley peg. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah, interesting one to wait and find out. All right. Is there anything else, or shall we move on to the fan track side of things?
I think that's it. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
So first pick,
that's what
it's
everyone's
obvious.
Here for, isn't it? So.
Yeah. I mean, first pick, it's pretty obvious.
Oh yeah, Marcus. No,
unless you're Mo.
Well, yeah. Shout out to Mo. Definitely. But yeah, no, Bruno Fernandes. I have been lucky enough to be 3rd pick in the IGL this year, and I managed to get Bruno.
Oh wow!
3rd.
Okay.
So Haaland and then Saka went before him, but I think everyone's kind of like thinking that you're talking Saka or Bruno are the first pick this year anyway. But yeah, Bruno's always going to be the first pick from United. The key pass master. We had this big thing in my home league. We did a whole I sent out a little questionnaire for everyone because I was saying to guys that we were thinking about mixing things up a little bit. Inspiration from our Banta 11 league. And just gave them all these different options, and because we're Scottish, obviously we tried to do the top 6, bottom 6 like the SPFL, but that's a mess of your head that you don't want to try and sort out. But we did, the guys were wanting to reduce key pass down to 1 point rather than 2 points for the sole reason that then I wouldn't get Bruno and I wouldn't win. I'm just because that Bruno, he completes more key passes than anyone, and he's just Mr.
Reliable, man. Mr. Consistent.
And just imagine if he had 3 decent strikers in front of him last season that could score, he would have clocked up more assists as well. So but yeah, Bruno 1-1 definitely.
Easy pick. Who have you got in terms of your next 3 picks, and which rounds are you taking them?
Okay, so I'm kind of where are we? I've got stuff written down as well, man. So I came prepared. I just can't find can't find that bit of paper that I wrote on. So obviously, I think like I said, Bruno, Garnacho. I think following on from last season, I think Garnacho doing mocks early doors and kind of July-ish. Garnacho, you're getting him round about the 7th or 8th. You're going to have to reach for him round about the 3rd nowadays, I think. I would personally wait until like the 4th. I mean, I think he's up there with the likes of Martinelli's and stuff like that. I think so. Getting him in the 4th round is great, but I think if you really want him, you're probably going to have to reach up into that 3rd round, just to have him. But yeah, he was a great asset last year. He was 40th overall last year, so it's not too bad. And obviously, he knows how to score an absolute worldie. Which
bicycle
is
kick at Goodison Park, lest we forget.
I don't know. Obviously there's alternative Man United comms that comes out every week, which is it's more making fun at us and then the team we're playing, and obviously a lot of making fun of Liverpool fans, but that's normal. But every time they show that goal and they just play that Lady Gaga song, that Alejandro. That just constantly plays. So every time I see it, I just expect to hear that song. But Garnacho. I expect another good season from him. I think everyone is too.
Yeah, definitely.
And he should be that. He should be that player that kind of like takes over. Next, man, can I say a keeper?
Definitely you can. We got Hermansen from our Leicester correspondent, right? So
I mean, it's not ideally who I would like there, but we are talking fan Trax, so, and I am not in any way, shape, or form telling anyone to go and pick a keeper up in the 8th round, because whoa.
Although you've been seeing it in drafts, right? So
the shit hits the fan when you do that. But yeah, I mean, Onana, he was the number 1 keeper last year. He was, really good. Saved a lot of shots because we faced a lot of shots. But he did concede a lot of goals. Obviously, the -2 for the first goal conceded this year. I think if you're wanting to have a keeper that you're going to have set and forget, grabbing him around about the 9th or the 10th is probably fair. It's probably a bit harsh on some of the other Man United players, to be honest. I would probably pick up Dalot probably around about the 6th or the 7th round. A great defender one if you can get hold of him. So if you can pick him up round about there as well, I think Dalot's another good asset. Obviously, we've almost got a team of assets when they play. Luke Shaw. I would have Luke Shaw higher up, but you're just so worried about his minutes and his injuries. Casemiro, like you said, he's a mid 4, mid 5. He's definitely. He's consistent. And then even Kobe, picking up Kobe, I'd expect Kobe to get more points than Casemiro this season, just because he's going to be more attacking. But Casemiro's obviously really good in the air, like we found out in previous seasons. So don't touch the centre halves. They won't really get anything. They might get you the odd goal or clean sheet. But as great as Lucha is, he doesn't really seem to get many points on fan Trax. So, but then he didn't play many times last season, so we've got a really weak kind of comparison pool. And I don't expect Yoro to get that many points either from defence. But again, depends how teams play against you. You know what I mean? So we all live for those days of the Southampton back two of Bedronek and the guy that's at Leicester now, the Danish guy. Vestergaard, when they played against Burnley and they just racked up all the aerials, you know what I mean? So, but Euros, I wouldn't expect much from them. So, and then of course we've got players that might come into the next segment.
Yeah. So I guess your 3 then are Garnacho, Onana, and Dalot.
Yeah, apart from Bruno. Yeah, totally. Okay. I mean, I think to be fair, I would probably put Dalot before Onana because that's the way I would pick them myself. But I think, when you look at Onana was 49th overall last year. So, I mean, it's
all right.
Fair.
It's
like 50, you're talking like the end of the 5th rounds, you know what I mean? So,
I get the pick now then.
The start of the 5th, so I just hope he's not there this season, if you know what I mean. Not that he's conceding, not because he's conceding so many, but because we're not facing so many.
Yeah, definitely.
Ideally, so.
Yeah. Who have you got in terms of hidden gem then?
So, hidden gems. So, man, I've got a couple, because I do actually think that I think you can throw Zirkzee into that just because I think a lot of people are being down on him.
Yeah.
In my IGL earlier today, he actually went in the 5th round, which I think is a bit excessive for someone who's not really thought to be that big of a points asset.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're getting him in the late rounds, like I said, I think he's a very creative player, and it'd be good to see what he can get and see what he can do and how we're going to play once everyone's kind of fit. So I'd say Zerski could be a bit of a hidden gem. I'm going to say Rashford.
Hey,
you know what I mean? And the reason I'm saying
a Discord
Rashford
favorite, I want to say.
Well, of course, yeah, totally. He is. I am getting some crazy offers for Rashford from now. It's brilliant. It's so fun. Me and Ben had spoke about it, and we were like, we'll get him because we just know we're going to get mental offers coming our way, so we'll get him anyway.
Yeah.
Plus, Rashford's going to play, so but yeah, so Rashford's. I think at the start, especially when you're doing earlier kind of mocks, you were able to pick up Rashford in like the 10th, 11th, 12th round. But
now it's like 6th or 7th.
Yeah,
now I want to say
he's going high. I think a lot of people are realizing that this guy's going to play, and you know what he can do.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not he can do it. So Rashford's like I said, Xerxes as well. I'd like to throw Højlund in it again, just because he can only really improve, and he's going to be out. He's probably more of a buy low because he's not really going to be playing much at the start of the season. But the one that I'm going to throw in my hidden gem for this year, Garnacho 1 year, Kobe Mainoo the second. Let's go with Amas, the young left back.
Okay.
So if you watch the Community League, which is tomorrow or well, probably yesterday. I don't know when this is coming out, but yeah.
I'll try to release it in a timely manner. But
totally,
just a timestamp. We're recording Friday evening, right?
Yeah, totally. He's played left back all preseason, and he's looked really good.
All right.
There's a lot of talk. He's not going anywhere, so he's going to be in the squad, which again is another boost. Obviously, like I've said about Mazraoui. Oh man, I'm butchering that so bad.
Mazraoui, I think.
Yeah, him.
Yeah.
Obviously, with him coming in, I think the beauty of him and Dallo is that they can both play on either flank.
Right.
So having a young player like Amas in the squad is good. He'll play against Man City. And I think there's a very good chance that this is like a late round, 14, 15, 16 round pick. Pick him up because it's the first game on a Friday night, and if he doesn't play, then you just drop him and pick up someone else. Yeah, because it's going to be really close to it for Shaw to start. AWB's on his way to West Ham, so he ain't going to be playing. So we're going to be left with Dallo and Amas basically, unless Shaw makes a huge recovery. But I can't see it. So there you go. Stick that in your Dynasty League, mate. Yeah.
Hey, I definitely will. In terms of a trap asset, who have you got?
Okay, so this is where I'm basically just going to counteract what I said about a certain Marcus Rashford, because we know he's got the ability to do it. And he could be that hidden late round gem that everyone's just bypassing. And he could turn into post-World Cup Marcus Rashford. Or he could have the same season that he had last season, and you've picked him up in the 5th, 6th, 7th rounds. And to quote Andrew from Discord, he's on waivers by week 3. I don't know. I think I think this is it. This is it for Rashford. You know what I mean? This is his season. He has to do it, because I don't think he's going to get another chance with the hierarchy and with the manager. But he could, like I said, he could also be a trap mate. He could also be someone that we're all hoping the best for, and we're getting these 2.75 and 3.5 games from him next season.
All right.
The other, sorry, I do have one more. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Just Mason Mount. I think again he's going in drafts. He's going to sit on your bench for quite a while unless you're willing to play someone off the bench. Which not a lot of people are going to be doing that at the start of the season. I just fail to see where he's going to get into the team. Again, granted, he's played quite well over pre-season. I think that's what's making a lot of people go for him. And again, like I'm saying, it's late rounds and we're the first game on Friday, so if he doesn't play, you're more likely going to drop him. But I just don't see what he's going to bring and where he's going to fit into the system. So he'll go and join the 54 other members of the Chelsea squad anyway. So if you want, you've got a few. So
yeah, we've definitely got a few. All right. Are there any other assets you want to touch on, or shall we move on to our final segment?
Again, just rumor mill. Just we are strongly linked with a lot of people. the only one that might really be worth the pickup would be my friend whose name I can't pronounce, but you're really good at it, from Bayern Munich.
Mazraoui, yeah.
He might be the only one because he's very attacking.
Yeah.
Not so good in the defensive side, so we're getting rid of one that's very good defending and not so good attacking. But I think we need to have that attacking kind of push in our team. So hopefully he does come on board over the weekend. So he might be the only one that would come in. But yeah, the rest, I'm not expecting much brilliance from Anthony. But they were teammates back in Ajax, those two, and they really struck up a good connection on that right wing for Ajax. So you never know.
Okay.
Again, we're just hoping for stuff. That's all we're doing. We're
just throwing anything at the wall. Hopefully it sticks. Yeah.
It's been so long, Sanji. It's been so
long. All right. Let's move on to our final segment, which is the advice section. So we've got a few questions for you. We're going to start off with the first one. Do you have any sort of drafting day tradition? Like, have you got to wear your Manchester United jersey while you're drafting? Do you need to like walk the dog? Like, what happens?
No, I just I don't really have much traditions. We always do like obviously when you're doing slow drafts, you just do it whenever you can, sort of thing. But for my home league, we kind of always make sure that we can do it when everyone can. We give each other plenty of time, and it's just preparation. Just be prepared. There's so many great. Like yourself, the guys from TDS, your side hustle, so there's so many people out there that can help you, and just talking to people on the Discord, running ideas, doing mocks. I always just think the best way to do a draft is just do as much practice as possible, and make your own rankings. I think that's always fun as well. Shout out to the guys at Overthinking Football. Sadly, they're not coming out with their ranker this year, but that was fantastic. I loved that last year, just almost like Tinder for football players, just picking which one you preferred, And so it was just be prepared. That's what I always do. I've got no real kind of like lucky socks or lucky pants or anything like that. So.
Fair enough. And in terms of the way you draft then, so do you typically then have some sort of a list that you refer to? Like you talked about overthinking, etc. Or you just pure vibes that, you know what, this is who I want?
I'm too old to talk about having pure vibes. I think that, I definitely, like I said, because I prepare quite a lot and I kind of look into, I read up on a lot of stuff. But I make my own ranks because, I don't want to just like have someone else's kind of plan because it just doesn't feel right. I think that was a good thing about the Overthinking Football one because, whether or not it was right, you did prefer this player to that player sort of thing. But I like doing ranks, but then I'm not shy of having a reach, especially if there's someone that you really want. And especially when you're in the community leagues, because these leagues are so tough. And you're up against people that are thinking exact same as you. So I just think if you want that player, just go and get him. Who cares if it's like 4 rounds before everyone else is going?
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I was the same way with Rodrigo Gomes in like a lot of my drafts. After like I got my first 11, I know people will tell me, you can wait until the 13th, 14th. I saw other managers reaching, like players on like Minter going to like round 5. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I've got my 11. I'm just going to pick who I want at this point.
Yeah, damn right. It's all about the hive train sometimes as well, whatever that train stop. So.
Yeah, if you want to know what a hive train is, join the fucking Discord, guys. All right. Next question I have for you is trading draft picks. Do you have any experience?
I do. It's not something I've knocked back every offer this year. It's not really something that I'm kind of interested in. So my first year in IGL, there was Danny Knoll. I'm sure one of the guys was talking about him, about how he did it successfully for 1 year. I was actually in the league where it didn't end successfully for him because no real big players came in. But he was just giving away his draft picks for a ridiculous amount of money. Yeah. I actually did it last year. And again, I'm going to point the finger at yourself and Robbie. I listened to that Liverpool pod last year and you guys were so high on Trent. And so I think I had 4th pick and I traded it away for 7th and 10 fab. Just to help the other manager, but then I was able to get Trent rather than taking Trent in 4th because I was just really high on him, and it did not end well. So yet again, I'm pointing the finger at you two guys. So. Always seems to end up that way, I swear
Yeah,
to God.
always does. Oh my God.
So yeah, but yeah, like I said, this year I've not really kind of. I don't know. I think it's just too much of a lottery. You know, you can look at the group of players that are around there around that kind of time, especially when you're doing mocks, and you can think like there's good value in the fourth, but there's not really much in the fifth.
Yeah.
But then it's like, how much do you then offer? And then, and I think it's been mentioned again in another pod. A lot of managers have caught on to this as well now. No one's falling for this anymore.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. But it's good fun if you can work it out and you can do it. Then go for it. Fair play.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of FA/waiver claims, do you have a strategy?
Again, sharing ideas, listening to people, listening to podcasts, reading up on articles, being on the Discord. Join the Discord, guys. And just, just kind of like, if someone's in a good, rich vein of form, just keeping an eye on them. And the Hive, again, the Hive. So.
There you go. In terms of fab, how do you usually spend it? Do you splurge or do you, spread it across the season?
I've done a bit of both. And kind of see in my home league, I tend to kind of, if there's someone that I really want, I'll throw most of it. Just be, I'm not gonna toot my own horn, but I'm probably one of the best, or if not the best in that league.
Okay.
Just tooting my own horn. But yeah, so I like, if I want someone, I don't mind spending like 30 or 40 just to know that I'll get them. Some of the managers in there aren't as experienced, and when they put in like a fab trade, we had one year someone put all 100 for Kelechiacho, what was the guy called?
Kelechiacho.
The guy that played for Leicester. Put all 100 on him, and you're like, what are you doing? So it was just, so I've had instances like that, but I think I like to gradually use it, especially in the community leagues, because if you've got a couple of fab left and no one else in your league has, then you've got to pick at the waiver wire. And because we know that in those community leagues, it's so tough. If you know about someone, it's because you've heard it on podcasts or you've read it in an article, then you can guarantee that at least all 11 of your league mates have heard it as well. So it's a kind of rush. So it's good to have a bit just near the end. But again, like doing your draft. If you want someone, just reach up, just go for it. Just spend it all if you want to. It's fake money at the end of the day. You can't take it with you either. So
and you can't generate new one as well, right? It's all either burning away or going side to side in a sense.
Exactly. So. Yeah, definitely. So.
All right. So in terms of best worst trades, do you have any memorable ones from last season?
Well, last season, I've learned. I have learned a lot. So I managed to trade out Matoma twice last season. I traded him out in my home league for Rashford, which didn't exactly come to plan, but I still kind of won that one in the end. But in the community league, I actually traded out Matoma and I got Kudus and Udogi.
What? That's
totally. Yeah, definitely. I had to check it over so many times going, is that right? Is that right? Is he really offering me that? Don't get me wrong, I don't really see Udogi as that good of an asset, but Kudos was just, kudos to Kudos, you know what I mean? So he was amazing. So, so that was like really the only main kind of big trade that I did last year. There was a lot of offers came in. I think I traded out McNeil for Diaby when Diaby was hot as well at one point, but again, that didn't really end all that well. Not really, not too many, none that were really huge, just the odd one just for I think I picked up Casemiro for someone else as well, just when he was on that week in a spell of playing, but I don't feel like I got outdone in any of those trades in all fairness. So.
I mean, getting Kudus, oh wow, that
totally, it was beautiful, I loved it.
Definitely. So before we move on from Manchester United completely, are there any assets that you would suggest to managers to buy low or sell high, given the way your season starts?
Yeah, I think Højlund could be a buy low, definitely. He's still going. A lot of drafts. We're talking about 6 weeks. So I don't know why people are really picking him up. You've got to have really high hopes for him. But if they are, I can see a lot of managers being frustrated. So, throw them some fab, throw them a player that you kind of want to get rid of yourself. I'm expecting decent things when everyone's fit and hopefully a formation change or whatever. But again, you just don't know.
Yeah.
But Højlund is technically our number 9. So you would think he's going to play when he is fit. So... it's worth going out with that buy low there. Sell high, man. it hurts me to say it, but I'd see if Bruno kicks off at the start of the season.
No, I would never. Maybe
I
I was
never-
going to think
I would never
Rashford,
myself.
maybe. Right?
Possibly. Even Garnacho might be a good one to kind of like, you know,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
the new favourite Ahmed. Ahmed could be a bit of a
Yeah,
sell high.
Diallo. Yeah. A lot of
just
people
because
have been
I'm-
going for him early in drafts, man.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that he's going to play a lot this season, but I think
Yeah.
it's up to him. I think he's got the start. I think he'll probably start the season, so I think he's got the opportunity to show what he can do. So, so that could be a good shout as well.
That's a
But
fantastic.
yeah,
shout.
never sell Bruno. Never sell.
Yeah,
Bruno.
never. You can't even. I would never. Not in a million years. All right. That brings us to our final question then. Andrew, given your years as a Fantrax manager, what are some of the lessons you have learned that you're taking into the upcoming campaign that you think will benefit you?
I mean, we've probably plugged it so many times, but join the Discord.
Yeah, no, seriously.
What a difference. What a difference. I mean, even from like being there right at the start when even I was like, what is this thing? It's just like, there's like 4 or 5 people on it. To just in the last 18 months, it has just blown up.
It's nearly 200 people and like
it's-
active members. Yeah,
And we talk about everything. You know, you've got stuff in there that can take your mind off fantasy football. Talk about pets, talk about food and beers and, you know, all sorts of stuff. So it was great. But just sharing ideas with people that all have kind of the same kind of thought process. You can have a laugh with it as well. And, you know, preparation as well. I think, you know, you can't just go in and wing a league because you'll never get away with it. So many, especially in the community league, so many good players. But yeah, join the Discord. That's all you can say. It's great and prepare. Yeah. Great community, fantastic community. Some of the people on it just is so good, such great advice, and we're all doing the same thing. And everyone's just full of love as well. It's brilliant. You know what I mean? So
we've made friends for life in there, I think.
Oh, totally. Even the guys that are just in there to troll as well. You know what I mean? They're still doing what we love. You know? So it's great.
Exactly. Awesome. All right, listeners, that's all we had planned for tonight's pod. Andrew, it was always a pleasure chatting with you, regardless of Manchester United, regardless of Fantrax. I'm absolutely chuffed that you're meeting up with your co-manager,
tomorrow.
Mr. Chickens himself, tomorrow to watch both of your teams battle it out.
Looking forward to that. Looking forward to it. So, and thankfully, this will go out after I've met. So, you know, if it all goes pear-shaped, then we'll probably train spotting him in the toilet. So I'll just tell everyone he's... We won't, Ben. I'm kidding.
Before we sign off, do you have any final words?
Just enjoy the season, guys. And one more time, join the Discord.
Yeah, love that plug. All right, listeners, what can I say? Stay tuned. Only a few more episodes until the entire series is done, and then we're back into regular scheduled program. But until next time, peace.
See ya.